Hello, and I hope you are all keeping well and keeping safe during this lockdown. Now we're in lockdown. I'm sitting on my conservatory recording this on my laptop, and the weather is beautiful. The sun's shining through. We've had several days of glorious weather, and we can't really get to enjoy it apart from sitting in our small gardens. But hey, that's the way things go. Usually this time of year in Wales, it's sort of snow and ice and rain, and well, it's supposedly the year round, really. It's like that. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about a free 3D virtual tabletop called gTove. But before I show you that, I'm going to see where this came from. So going back to 2013, I think it was. Yeah, 2013, there was a Kickstarter for a 3D virtual tabletop called 3D VTT by Brendan Duncan, and this was the Kickstarter, and the premise of it was that it was basically just a screen with a map on it, and you had some tokens that you could move around, and it was in the 3D environment. It worked on the browser and it worked on Android and iOS, and there were several tiers for the pledges for the Kickstarter, and a lot of people went for this one here, the $99 pledge, which was a lifetime subscription to match the longevity. So people paid for that and expected a lifetime of activity for it, and things went well for a while, but apparently from what I can gather, all development stopped on it. Brendan, the gentleman behind it, sort of disappeared off the face of the earth for several months, and people were a bit hacked off. So sort of what I've read on the forums and that, people said, you know, if it explained that real life had got in the way and they had to slow down, yeah, they would have been happy with that. But everything seemed to stop. Now, so as a result of that, a gentleman called Rob Brendel decided that he would do his own 3D virtual tabletop based on the 3D VTT environment. So taking it as a nice and simple approach of a JPEG PNG map that you can plonk down, convert it to 3D, and have some tokens. And we'll have a look at that in a second. That is he's made all the source code, all the code open source. So it's at github.com/robbrendel/gTove. The G comes from Google Drive, as it does use a Google Drive. What is slightly ironic about this, Rob's done some fantastic work getting his gTove up and running, but in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, Brendan has returned to 3D virtual tabletop because of the pandemic, and he's got time now. So although there hadn't been a post on his blog for several several years actually, all of a sudden now he is now sort of said that he's back at it, and over the last few weeks there has been several posts now saying he's back working on it, but some people have had their fingers burned, so a bit upset about the lack of communication, and I've sort of decided to stick with Rob and his version. If you want 3D virtual tabletop, it is available on Android and iOS, PC, Mac or iPad. He's got 2 tiers, a free tier without subscription, which gives you the majority of things, but you can only upload 2 maps of your own and upload 2 of your minis. If you want to do more than 2 maps and 2 minis, which of course you're only going to do, it's $4.99 per month. And that's as load as many maps as you want and as load as many miniatures as you want. So with that said, let's go over to Rob Brendel's page. So it's gTove, a virtual gaming tabletop, and he's got a website, so you can download it and you can install it on your own server and have it running on your own server if you know how to do that. It's a lightweight web application, simulates a virtual tabletop. Multiple maps and standee-style miniatures can be placed on the tabletop, and he's got a user version at his website illuminitygames.com/gTove, and we'll go there in a second, and I'll show you around. It's a browser only virtual tabletop, and he's developing it in Chrome with occasional test in Firefox. So there are issues with the browsers. I know people with Safari have had issues with it, but if you're using Chrome, and I believe possibly Brave browser, which is also based off Chrome, works fine with it as well. He's got a Discord server where he is open to suggestions and feedback, and to be fair to Rob, he's very busy on there and answers questions, so it's a good source of if you have any issues. Now, as I said earlier, it needs it works from Google Drive, and so as such you have to sign in with a Google account. But not only does the GM have to sign in with a Google account, all the players also have to sign in with a Google account. Now for the GM, all the maps and tokens he uploads, they will be going onto his Google Drive, and the software will access the Google Drive. The players, they have to sign in with a Google account, and it's read access only to their Google account. You're not uploading anything, but you need, it's a thing with the API of Google Drive. I have suggested to Rob some while ago that maybe he looks at Dropbox, because with Dropbox you can access other people's Dropbox account, but you don't need to sign in. So that is on his list of things to do. He's got a long list of stuff that's in the pipeline with that he's doing with it. But it's a one-man project. This is his features, that the things that he's implemented at the top. He's added a lot of stuff, and down the bottom we get to his plans to do, and one of them on that is to look at Google Drive, Dropbox instead. So that's enough of that. Why don't we jump straight in into the Illuminati Games gTove. So this is what you're greeted with as you log onto that website, and as you can see here, you can either sign in with your Google Drive or you can work offline. If you work offline, everything works fine, but anything you do will not be saved, and obviously your players can't access too. So let's sign in with the my Google account, and this is the screen you're met with once you've got it up and running. These are my tabletops. So for example, if I go to the Flash tabletop, this will take me into my map that I use for Flash Gordon. And let's switch the GM view off. So what I'll do first is I'll take you to the tutorial that comes with it, because I've been doing stuff, it sort of disappeared off there. So I'll take you to the tutorial when you first open the gTove for the first time. This is the what you'll get met with. So here we have the gTove desktop, and as you can see, it's a 3D map, and you can scroll, move around the map using the left mouse button. But what you can also do with the right mouse button is you can spin your map around, and this is just a flat map, and you can see you can spin the map all around from different angles. You can zoom in and zoom out using your mouse wheel. But what you can also do is, with your right button pressed down, not only spin it up and left and right, but you can spin it up and down. So you can get the real 3D perspective from different angles. So you can see that it looks quite good. These are the miniatures. These are just flat 2D images, and you import them and it converts them to minis, and you can drag these around, and everybody that signs in can move them all around. You've got some text on them, and if you left click on the token, it gives you a few options. So you can rename the token, so if you've got a player's name or a character's name, so if you had Legolas here, you can change that to Legolas, okay, and it will appear above the character. Up the top left here, you've got the font size. You can reduce the font size of the labels. At the moment, there is no way to switch the labels off and on. Other options that you can do with the mini is you can lie down, so it lies the miniature flat down, so you can do a prone, stand them up. You can convert the miniature to a flat round token, or you can make it a standee. What I do like about it is if you scroll up to the directly above it, it automatically converts the tokens to these round tokens, standees to the round tokens, so that's quite nice, and as soon as you come back it pops up. Other things you can do is you can hide the base, so if you don't like the bases look on them like a standee, you can have that. So you can have the base on them. The GM can hide the minis from the players. You can scale the minis to make them larger and smaller, remove them, and duplicate. If you wanted many miniatures of the same, if you're putting up bad guys, press duplicate. How many copies do you want of that? And I'll plonk those down for you. So that's nice and simple. So let's have a look over here to the left hand side. We've got grid snap on and grid snap off, so I've got it set on at the moment, so as you're moving around it snap into the grid. If you switch the snap grid off, then it's just free moving around, doesn't affect the grid at all. You have fog of war. Now as you can see, I'm currently, as GM view is off, so I am in the player view. If we put the GM view on, other stuff will appear on the screen now, and as you can see over here, we've got some stuff here that has appeared, and let's take you through this tutorial. So this is all you get in GM view. This is instructions, so it explains how you pan around. These notes over the top here, as you can see, are only in the player view. You can also use it if you're using a touchscreen tablet or laptop. You can use 2-finger gestures as well, which is nice. And as you can see, you can have apparently you can have infinite maps as well. The maps can be of any size, so that is nice. Whoops. And he gives you some instructions on what to do with the miniatures, which is good. And this is a nice feature. So this building has stairs running up. So what you can do is over here on the left hand side, go up to the next level. So if you focus the camera on where the next level is, click the up button, it will then show the next layer above it, which is really nice. And here you can see the fog of war. So the fog of war is basically like a white translucent box that you put over the top of the layer on the GM layer, and as you can see with the GM layer I can see that, but if I go to player view then it becomes opaque and you can't see through it, and that's what the players will see. It will just be a blank for them. So that's the fog of war. So that depends whether they're logged on as a GM or player. From what I can understand, only one person can be logged as the GM. And let's go through these menus on the left hand side here. So the other thing that I want to mention is about moving. I said we've got the grid movement. You can also do free movement. So this is grid movement. If I go to free move, then it draws a line and it tells you how far you've moved. But the line does appear to stay there. It doesn't. I've not found a way yet for it to move. The other thing you can do as well with the base is if you want to colour the base, you can make it a different colour. So if you want red bases for your bad guys, you can do that, or differentiate each character's base as well. You can do that. The other thing you can do with the minis as well is you can, if you hold the middle mouse button, you can make them stand up. So if you've got flying creatures, you can denote that, which is quite nice. And the other thing you can do with the miniatures is, if I can remember how to do it, you can actually rotate the miniatures. And of course, I'm doing a live feed, so I'm going to completely forget how to do this. But there we go. So it's a right mouse button and twirl it around, and you can move the miniatures around. So let's have a look. On the menus on the left hand side, you've got tabletops, maps, minis, templates, scenarios and bundles. So maps is where you upload your maps. And as I said, it's all saved on your Google Drive, so you can add a folder to your Google Drive if you want to place your maps in, and you can see I've done a few here. What I will say is if you go directly into your Google Drive and delete anything or add anything, it won't work with gTove. Everything has to be uploaded via this interface and deleted via this interface. When you upload your maps, you're given several options. You'll click upload, look for your map, upload it, and let's take this one here now. This is the forest outskirts, so let's edit this. So this is how it would appear. I've got the show grid overlay on, and that is the grid off. You've got a choice of grid, square grid, hexagonal grid, or with the vertical indices or the horizontal indices, or no grid at all. When you're setting up your grid, you'll see these little pins here, and what you do if you zoom in, so my grid is off, if I pick up one of these pins, what you do is, this is the grid overlaying, and you can see the grid underneath, and you put it on one of the indices and you line up the grid so that the top and bottom lines line up perfectly, or as close as you can. And then you click on it again, and that will put the pin in it. And then over here you do the same with the indices, so you drag it left and right until it lines up further out, put the pin in it, and now your overlay grid is now working with the underlying grid. So if you haven't got a grid, you show it. If you have got a grid on your JPEG or PNG, then you click that. You can also change the name of the map and then click save, and then those are the maps. So if you want to just put a map on the tabletop, click on it and it will throw the map in a second on the tabletop. There we go, and there is the 2D map. It's converted it to like an isometric perspective, so you can then add your minis on, and you can see that this map is substantially larger than the map above. So that's how you add your maps through the maps menu. Okay, so the next one is how to add minis. So this is to add minis. You click on the minis menu, and again you can have several folders. You can have any sort of token you want. These are tokens I've just uploaded. So if I was to upload another miniature now, all I do is click on upload, go to one of the menus where I've got some tokens, NPC tokens, and these are just round tokens, but if I wanted a standee token, I can pick one of them, click on it, click open, and this will now upload this miniature. He says, hopefully. And of course, doing a live stream, it's gone. Banjack's on me, let's have a look. Nope, gone. So let's go back here, try again. So the minis, I did upload it, for some reason it kicked me out, but I have not had an issue with it before. If it's got new, that means you need to edit it. So you click on this, go to edit, and the choices you've got is a file name. It gives you the option of what it looks like as a top-down mini and as a standee. So any image you put in there, it will convert to a standee. Will do all this for you. The background color, you can either use the top left of the mini or you can pick. So for example, if you pick and I want to use gray, I could have, let's pick another color. I could pick a red background if I so wanted. Otherwise it's going to use the top left pixel. And because this is a square, although it's a round token, it's a square round token, it's picking white. And then you pick the scale. So scale of 1 fits in a normal size square, half is half size, up to 3 times for your large mini, and it shows you what it looks like over your hex grid, or you can have it custom. So once you click save on that, then it will remove the new marker from it. So this is the way that you add miniatures to your map, and all it is you can pick all here, or if you want to click an individual one, there you go. Let's switch Zoom view off. let's drag these around, and there is Xantar. Get the free move off, and that is how you add your miniatures to your map. So if we change maps now, and this all saves in real time, so any changes you make, it will save to it. So to our map here, I'm going to add some minis. So we'll add, this is one of my characters, adds it to the map. Let's add another one. We'll add a male. As you can see, it's really easy to add the figures. This one has obviously been scaled wrong, but I can scale it now by clicking on it, scale, and as I zoom in and out, it will reduce the size. So there we go. That's probably better size. There we go. So that's real scaled him. So that is your minis. That's how you add your minis to the map. Then if we go on to tabletops. So tabletop is a shared space you and your players can view. Everyone connected to the same tabletop sees the same map and miniatures. So you might want to create the tabletop for each campaign that you GM, plus perhaps a personal working tabletop. So these are some of the ones I've set up. So I've got one here called Pub, and for some reason it's asking me to sign in again. What I have found with it is, especially as a player, every time you change the map, that pops up. It's something to do with the Gmail, it's Google Drive. So it could be that I've deleted this one. That might be why. Let's see if this is, I don't know why this isn't working now. Of course, let's try something else. This is one that's for Stonehill. So here is my Stonehill map with miniatures on it, and here is the Fog of War. So while I've got this up, let me explain the Fog of War to you. So as on the GM view, you've got the Fog of War. At the moment it's off, so I can't alter any of the Fog of War. If I want to change the Fog of War, I can single click on a square and it will release it, and if I click on it again, it will call it in. If I want to do a whole area, so for example, they open this door and step out in the corridor. So let's do that. So we'll open the door, and one of the characters walks out into the corridor, and I want to show this corridor. I go to edit Fog of War, and then all I do then is I drag the cursor over the squares. A pop-up will come up saying, do you want to cover, uncover, cancel, and uncover. And we'll do the same here. Let's uncover it. You can see all the way down there, and uncover that. So on the player screen, they will see this in real time. And you can, what I've often found with this is sometimes if you go to the overhead view, it works better. So for example, I want to uncover all of this here. I would just uncover. Now whatever I show on my screen is going to be different to the player screen, so I can go to this overhead view and it will be different for the players. So that is quite nice. So that is how the Fog of War works. If I switch off player view, this is what the players are going to see as I unveil it. So that is their point of view. What you may have also noticed that I've put some doors in as well. So these are just door tokens. I've added those because I quite like having door tokens. And if you had other sort of stuff, if I go further down over here, you can see I've added some, I wanted, the room had some pillars on. So let me uncover this. So this room had some pillars on. I've been messing around with it. So over here, we've got some pillars. So what you can do is pick the pillars up and actually put the pillars over. You see, sometimes it can be difficult to pick a miniature. Oh, I think I've locked these, that's why. So let's unlock them. There we go. So you can lock miniatures down so they can't be moved. So here is a pillar. So if you wanted to put a pillar down, I can put a pillar down. You can lock it in place to stop anybody clicking on it, which is what I've done then. And you also got reveal as well. So at the moment, every miniature that I put on there is hidden, but when I click reveal, you notice it, instead of being translucent, it becomes nice and opaque, and it can be seen. So that was tabletops. Then we go into scenarios, and scenarios this differs slightly from tabletops. They used to save and restore your tabletop layouts. So if you set up your images and miniatures to your satisfaction in the tabletop, save them as a scenario here to preserve your work and to move them between tabletops. And then you pick a scenario to load it again into the current tabletop. So that is the slight difference with scenarios. So that's where I loaded the tutorials scenario from. As you can see, folders here, but I was messing around, so I've got a few things. Let's have a look. I have no idea what this one is. This is one that I looked at as a possible for doing Fandolin. So this is the watchtower. So you've got the players coming in from this side. Here are the players coming to the watchtower, and then you've got your map area with a fog, so they couldn't see any of this. All they can see is this area here, all the skeletons in here, and the dark mage. The clear tabletop button, if I click that, that will clear absolutely everything, and it will remove all the maps and minis from this tabletop, so that will take all that away. Templates. What templates are is you draw your squares or your circles onto the map, you add a template, and this is how they've added the text. So let's add some text to this. So I'm going to use this one here. As you can see, it's here, so I can hide it, reposition it. So I'm going to reposition it. So where do I want it? Move it down here somewhere. There it is. And if I double click it, I'm now clicking, missing the template. Sometimes I found it can be difficult to get on the right bit. So let's try again. Right. For some reason it's not letting me. Is it because I'm in GM view maybe? No, it's in GM view, it disappears. But yeah, you add the templates and you're supposed to be able to add text to them, and that's how they've been doing it, but for some reason now that's not working for me. You can also replace your map image from here as well. And finally, bundles. These are content packs for gTove, so that allows you to transfer objects between other users. I think the idea behind this initially was that he was going to put his own content up there so that you could use that. I don't think he's done much with that at the moment. He's been trying to get the UI to work at the moment. So let's, if I go to the tutorial scenario, see if we can get these templates. So these are the templates here. What should happen is when you double click them, you can rename them. And this is all the text you see here. So you put all the text in here, click OK, and then this appears on the template, and that's the way you can add your notes. Up here also mention, let's have a look. Let's go back to another map. You see this sign in does appear several times. So several things you can do. You can refocus the camera on the current map. So if I want to draw my players' attention to this area here, for example, I wanted to say to players, oh look, you can see a tent there. If I click on the camera, it will refocus my map on that area, but it will also refocus all the players' maps on there. So there is the font tool. You've also got a dice roller built in, so click on the dice and you get a choice of D4 to D100. Click on one of the dice and it will roll a nice 3 dice on top of the tabletop and give you a result. If you want to roll it again, you can't move it or anything. The only thing you can do is if you're rolling the D20, you, oops, hold. Yeah, there's 0, 2. So this is how you roll all the dice. If you only get the dice off the map, click clear. And no matter where you're focused on the map, then the dice will be rolled at that area there. So the dice will appear and it looks quite nice as well. You can also do a dice pool. So for example, if you're playing a game and you wanted to roll 3d6, so you click on pool and click how many times you want to roll that, and let's roll off 3d6, and we seem to have lost that. There we go. So there is still a few little bugs in the system, but to be fair to Rob, he's very active on his Discord, answers questions, and he's updating all the time. It's currently on version 3.2.1. Anything you do on your map will automatically be saved, so there's no save, and if you make a mistake, then that mistake will stay with you. And then to leave it, all you do is sign up to the account, and then that takes you back to the Illuminati games. So that's gTove. It's a nice, simple 3D virtual tabletop. It's still in its early stages. I'm not sure how long it's been going, but to be fair to Rob, he's done a lot of work with it. There's some very active community. Oh, the one thing I didn't show you. How did you share it with your players? I knew there was something. That's what you get for live streaming, lack of planning. So let's go to one of the maps. So as GM, you set up your map ready to go, and when you want your players to join, click on the share button, and that will copy the URL to your clipboard, and then you can go to let's go to a separate window. All you do then is put it in an email or a text or whatever, send it to your players, and then they will need to sign in. This isn't going to work because I'm already signed in with my Google Drive, but they sign in with their Google Drive and they will then connect to your tabletop as a player. So that was just something else that you needed to know. So I hope you find this useful. It's worth keeping an eye on gTove. So as I said before, the GitHub page is github.com/RobRendell/gTove, and the link is on there to the Discord and to the working version as well. So yeah, check it out, and then I hope you all have a nice rest of the day.